Hey, good morning. This is Lee Cummings, the author of the Negro Question book series. And I decided to do just a short, probably 20-minute lesson or presentation on the Declaration of Independence and what we commonly call the 4th of July in the hood. And we're going to show you in this lesson, this video, the 4th of July was not for the Blacks in the southern states. The 4th of July, the Declaration of Independence, was solely for the 13 colonies which were located on the eastern seaboard. Now, this is going to be a bit of bad news for some of you, because some of you guys went out, men and women, you went out and you bought all those fireworks and all that meat and all that food and had all them people at your house with the alcohol and the weed, and you could have saved some of that money. 2/3 of the country, it had nothing to do with you. The southern slave states, it had nothing to do with you. The Declaration of Independence was solely aimed at the 13 colonies on the eastern seaboard. But I want to open this up with a scripture, because they coined it, or they phrased it, or titled it the Declaration of Independence. But we're going to show you what a Declaration of Independence should mean. I'm going to go to Leviticus 25th chapter. We also have a Declaration of Independence from this world, but it's for the whole world. Watch this. Deuteronomy 25:8. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbath, Shabbat, Shanim, or 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years. And the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years should be unto thee 49 years. You shall cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, and the day of atonement, and you shall make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. Now watch this. Verse 10. You shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and you shall return every man unto his possession, and you shall return every man unto his family. So the Declaration of Independence did not do what the Jubilee is going to do for the entire world. It should have been a declaration for all the people in the land, on the earth. So when the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1783, it had nothing to do with the southern states. And this is going to come to a shocker to some of you modern historians at these major institutions. The British had nothing to do with the slave trade. The Brits had something called the Magna Carta. They did not recognize the institution of slavery. That is the reason why, when the prisoners from the Jacobite prison ships in 1745 and I think 1715, 1745 came into the 13 colonies, they came in as indentured servants. It was illegal to enslave in Britain. Now walk with me now, because I'm moving a little fast. So I'm gonna slow the camera down just a little bit. There was no slavery in the 13 colonies. And we're going to prove this to you by the peace treaty, the Paris Peace Treaty. The slaves in the southern states were not owned by the British. They were owned by the Spanish, the Dutch, the Portuguese, and who am I missing? And the French. They owned the southern slave states, and we're going to show you from the Paris Peace Treaty that what I'm saying is correct. I want to read you the Paris Peace Treaty from 1783, and I want to show you the names of those states that King George relinquished his authority over. No, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come out of here and go back in here. I'm gonna start off at the very top, because I want you to see where it says the Definitive Treaty of Peace, 1783. I'm not going to read this. I just want to give you the introduction so that you can see that King George III was the one that signed this. So it says, it having pleased the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent Prince George III, by the grace of God, King of Britain, France, and Ireland. So now we got the title. We have the title of the person that wrote this document. Now I'm going to slide down to Article 1. Article 1 is going to give you a list of those colonies or those states that King George, that the British owned. And so with this Article 1, he's going to release his authority or ownership over the colonies that he owned. So let's read Article 1. His Britannic Majesty acknowledges the said United States. So he said, okay, this is what the United States was in those days. New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, Providence Plantations, Providence, Rhode Island. Basically, that's all it is, Rhode Island and Providence. Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia to be free, sovereign, and independent states. Oh, so these are the list of the states that received their freedom in 1783. Now remember, the 13 colonies declared their independence in 1776, but they had to fight for 8 more years to become free. Now, if you would notice, it's very subliminal, but if you go back and look at the states that were mentioned, the slave states are not mentioned as being free. He doesn't mention Mississippi. He doesn't mention Alabama. He doesn't mention Arkansas, Louisiana. Why? Because these colonies or these states were owned by the French, the Dutch, the Spanish, and the Portuguese. And he doesn't mention Florida. Now, check this out. Somebody said, well, what about North Carolina and South Carolina? Well, if you go back and look at the original charters, there was no such thing as the North and the South Carolina. It was just Carolina. And it was split to allow slave masters to bring slaves down into Carolina. So they split into the North and the South. But originally, it was only one Carolina. Go back and read and do your own research. Secondly, Georgia. Georgia did not legalize slavery until the year 1751, 1752 under King George I. So if I just did a little basic math right here, I went 1865 minus 1751, I go 4, I go 1. That means slavery in Georgia only existed for 114 years. Your teacher lied to you. There was no such thing as slavery in Georgia before 1751. And what I should have did was I should have included the original or the rough draft of the Declaration of Independence when Thomas Jefferson called King George I a wicked prince for bringing the institution of slavery into the 13 colonies. Now, I want to go a little further in this. So now we see that the only states that were freed was the brothers on the East Coast. But the thing about it was they were always free. You got to realize who was it that colonized the 13 colonies? It was the Black Brits, the Black Germans, the Black Scots, and anybody else that came into the colonies. And I mean, I'm gonna, just for the sake of this lecture, I want to go back and look at something. I want to look at this. I'm gonna do a stop share and I'm gonna do a new share. I want you guys to see something. This I took this from the Negro Question Part 7, the Swarthy Memoirs, and I did the research on this myself. So let's see. We've been told that the founding fathers were these Gentiles, Anglo-Saxons, or what you commonly call a white person. The Franklins and the George Washingtons and all these other people. But they were not the founding fathers. The founding fathers were Scottish and one German, and we're going to show you. Virginia was founded by the Black Scottish king, King James. King James was King James VI of Scotland and he became King James I of England when they merged the two kingdoms. King James founded Massachusetts and/or Maine, and he also founded New England. That's King James I, the Black Scot. Maryland was founded by King Charles I of Scotland. New Hampshire, King Charles I of Scotland. Rhode Island was King Charles II of Scotland. He founded more than all of them. He's a grandson of King James. Delaware, King Charles II of Scotland. North Carolina, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and South Carolina. Really should have been that's a faux pas. Should be Carolina, was all founded by this Black Scottish king, King Charles II. Now, what about New York and New Jersey? Well, New York was founded by King James II, who went by the moniker or the title, the Duke of York. You heard that song back in the day, the Duke of Earl. Well, they had a lot of dukes in those days, and he was the Duke of York, and he founded New York. And lastly, but this Duke of York, King James II, was also a Scot. But 1732, Georgia was given a charter by King George, so he named it after himself. But King George was a Black German king. I want y'all to understand something. So the 13 colonies weren't founded by any white kings or any white philosophers or historians or scientists. They were founded by how many is that? 4 Black Scottish kings and 1 Black German king. These are your real founding fathers. And I'm going to read you an article that'll validate or verify what I just said, because Benjamin Franklin is going to make a comment that he's been saying this. We've been reading his comments for years, and the Gentiles have yet, or they so-called professors and their scholars, they refuse to respond to it. And let me see if I can find it. Hopefully I can. If I can't, then it must be here. Let me see if I got his. I want to go back here, and I want to read this. I want to read this definition. I know it's here. Hold on. Must be hiding behind here. Yeah, here it is. This is called Benjamin Franklin's observation of mankind. And we're going to show you that Benjamin Franklin, I guess, well, I don't guess, but racism was not in effect in those days. So people actually told the truth, because the concept racism wasn't invented until 1800 CE, or what you call 1800 AD. Prior to 1800 AD, there was no such thing as racism. Racism was a tool that was created to maintain rulership over the 13 colonies. Now watch this. I'm going to go to the top so you can see who the author is, and then you can get your locations, because when you read it, you might not, you're going to be like, you're thinking I'm lying. The title of this essay is called The Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind, the People and the Countries, Benjamin Franklin, and the date on this is 1751. We're going to go down to line 24, or what I call paragraph 24. And you're going to have to blow this up when you see it. But these are the words of Benjamin Franklin himself. It says, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is Black or tawny. Well, and it's not even in the lesson, but Jerusalem is in Northeast Africa, the land of Canaan. Israel is in Northeast Africa. So at that time, all Africa is Black or tawny. Tawny is a brown or Black person. Asia, chiefly tawny. This is where where the Apostle Paul came from. He came from Cilicia, which is in Asia. Tawny is Black or brown. America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. So this disputes the white Indian. This right here teaches that the indigenous people at that time, according to Benjamin Franklin, the eyewitness, boots on the ground, The American Indian was a black man. And in Europe, no, not Europe, Brother Cummings. And in Europe, the Spaniards. Who was the slave master in the South in 1751? The Spanish. You got to stop sometimes and put a brake on your brain. You got to put a brake on your brain, slow your brain down. That's how they get you. They run information past you, and you don't never stop, and you don't never see what's really going on. So I'm going to slow your brain down this morning. Benjamin Franklin said, and in Europe, the Spaniards. The Italians. So the original Italian mob. The French, not the French. The Russians and the Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion. You know what swarthy is? There's a dictionary, and I probably should have read it to you because you won't believe. The truth is hard to believe. A lie is easy to believe. Swarthy in the Johnson Dictionary of 1788, the definition of swarthy is black. The definition of tawny is black and brown. So Benjamin Franklin said, all these nations, not in America, all these nations in Europe are what we call black, swarthy. The Southern slave masters at that time was from where? Spain, Portugal, the Dutch, the French. So the slave masters were what? They were black. It was a black on black crime. Not because I said it. I wrote this in the Swarthy Memoirs, Part 7, The Negro Question. I am the author, Lee Cummings. But what does he say about the Germans? Because this leads us into our next great secret. Well, let's go and see. He says, I'm going to pick it up where he says right here. I'm going to back all the way up where it says, which leads me to add one remark. That the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. Africa is black or tawny. Asia, tawny. All these are black folk. I don't read all that. You read that already. I want to read this part right here. It says, I'm going to pick it up where it says the French. The French, the Russians, and the Swedes are generally what we call the swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also. Wait a minute. So in 1751, according to white boy number one, Benjamin Franklin, he's your all-American white dude for all decades and generations. Louis Farrakhan ain't saying this. Malcolm X is not saying this. No radical black person wrote this. This was written by a sane, educated, intelligent white man by the name of Benjamin Franklin. He said that the Germans also were swarthy. So the slave masters in the South, remember, do your timeline. The Emancipation Proclamation wasn't written until 1865. Subtract that from 1751. And what do you get? 114 years later. Them slave masters were black, and slavery was not based on the color of your skin. Go back and read the papal bull called the Dum Diversa. I think it was like 1450. And in the Dum Diversa, the Catholic Church, the Pope at that time, I don't know if it was Pius. That's not part of the lesson. I'm just talking. He writes that if you find any Saracen, which is any unbeliever that's not a Catholic, you can confiscate his lands, enslave him perpetually forever. So this was the papal bull that was issued. It's called the Dum Diversa. And so slavery, or the enslavement of the West Africans, mainly the kingdom of Judah, Yahuda, that came into the 13 colonies, was based on religion. So them brothers in the brothers from the kingdom of Judah, they were Hebrews. They came into the southern gate, and we'll deal with the Hebrews. They came out of Europe, but that's not the lesson today. And I want to get back to the lesson. Now check this out. Why did I focus on Benjamin Franklin's comment that the Germans were swarthy/black. You cannot look up the word swarthy in the year 2026 for the definition in 2026. You got to go back during the timeline that the word was being used. This essay was written in 1751. The dictionary was written in 1788. Same timeline. Swarthy in 1751 was black. Tawny in 1751 meant black or brown. Facts. So the Germans are described as a what? As a swarthy people. Let me let you in on a little secret. Come on, walk with me a little bit. I had to do this lesson early this morning because I tend to get away from what I'm supposed to be doing sometimes because of the course of a day. So now I want to go to page 76, and I'm using the Negro question, part 7, the Swarthy Memoirs, from the research that I did years ago. So page 76, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This is a devastating secret. Check this out. I'm not going to read all this. I'm just going to read some of Benjamin Franklin's essay that we just looked at, but I had wrote this in the book, so I cut this off. Since detachments of English from Britain sent to America will have their places at home so soon supplied and increased so largely here, why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will surely be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our anglifying them, and will near or never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion? This is an official account that is telling us what? The Germans were a black race of people as late as 1751. This is what is meant by they can never obtain our complexion. So Benjamin Franklin was letting you know, hey man, all these Negroes, or these German Negroes, are flooding into Pennsylvania. Some of you don't even know that Pennsylvania was a German colony. The black Germans came in there. And Benjamin Franklin told you that the Germans were what? They were a swarthy people. Now watch this. This is critical to this lesson today. It says, when the black German king, King George III, sent soldiers into the 13 colonies, guess where he got them from? If you said the black German Hessian state, you were correct. It has been recorded that 55%, 30,000 black Hessian soldiers of all the soldiers sent to repel the colonies came from Alaska, Lorraine, and many states of the Holy Roman German Empire. What does that mean to you in Negro? It simply means that when King George sent troops into the 13 colonies to put down the rebellion that started in 1776, the police officers, the army that policed the 13 colonies were what? Black German Hessian soldiers. They was all black. In fact, the colonists were black. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this. Depends on what type of, how part 1 is received. Then I'll come back and hit you with the bang bang. But check this out. So the police officers, or the standing army that was living in these people's houses, they were black German troops. I want to leave here, and I want to read you something. I want to read you something that's of relevance. I want to go to Jeremiah 36 and 17. I'm going to show you. This is what the Gentiles, or the Anglo-Saxons, or what you commonly call a white person, have been doing since they took power in the 13 colonies. They've been controlling the narrative, and we're going to show you how. Jeremiah 36. I don't want to read all this because this is not Bible study, but I don't want to read it. I'll just read some of it. 36 and 17, Jeremiah. And they asked Baruch, saying, tell us now, how you say, now God, Anakanal At, tell us now, how didst thou write all these words in his mouth? And he's talking about, you got to go back and read the first verse, read the whole chapter. The prophet Jeremiah is writing the book. The scribe is writing everything down that he's saying. So they said, how is it that you wrote all this at his mouth? Then Barak answered, that's verse 18, Baruch, he pronounced all these words to me with his mouth, and I wrote them with ink, and I wrote them with ink in the book. So he wrote a word. It was a word from the Lord to the princes, the king and the princes of Israel at that time, but they didn't want to hear the truth. So what did they do? Verse 22. Now the king sat in the window of the winter house in the 9th month, and there was a fire on the hearth burning before him. And it came to pass that when Jehudah, which is Judah or Yehudah, had read 3 or 4 leaves, he cut it with the penknife and cast it into the fire that was on the hearth until all the roll was consumed in the fire that was in the hearth. So what did they do? Instead of embracing the truth, what did they do? They took the leaves, the rolls, they burned them in the fire. So what? That the word wouldn't get out. This is the same, this is analogous, parallel, identical to what the whites did to the truth in the 13 colonies. Just like, is what I'm trying to tell you. The 4th of July or the Declaration of Independence was only earmarked or for what? The Eastern Seaboard, the other 2/3 of the country. That was not owned by the British. It was owned by who? The swarthy Spanish, the swarthy Dutch, the swarthy Portuguese, and the swarthy French. And now they used to have a saying, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger. If you got a problem with what I'm saying in this video today, you need to contact the Library of Congress or somebody need to dig Benjamin Franklin up, resurrect him, and ask him, what was you talking about when you named all these Black European countries? It's not our fault. It's just the truth. Now check this out. I want to read maybe one more scripture. I'm going to read one scripture or two. Yeah, I'm going to read 2 scriptures. I want to read this one. Let's go to Luke 11:52 because this is ironic. Luke 11:52. Luke 11:52. I got to hurry up. I got to go to Dunkin' Donuts today because Sundays are the days that I go over my thesaurus, or all my words. 11:52. Now watch this. He said, "Oi or oi, al etihi lawi. Woe unto you, lawyers, which is Levi, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in you hindered." So they had the key of knowledge, which is these universities, middle school, grammar school, kindergarten. They all had the key of knowledge, but they wouldn't enter in, and they would make sure that anybody that was seeking knowledge would not find it. They call themselves, in our generation, they are called gatekeepers. And you can see it even on the internet. Only a select few is getting the bag. So they all what they're doing is whoever got the bag, they all making sure that circle continues to get the bag. Nobody new is getting in. And I tell you something else, these gatekeepers, they're being paid to teach you lies and to keep you in an infantile state. Now I want to go a little further in this because I'm basically through. I want to end this in Jeremiah, the 16th chapter and the 19th verse, because this is what the Gentiles, the Anglo-Saxons, or white folks are going to tell Yeshua/Jesus when he comes to sit on the throne in Jerusalem during the 1,000-year reign. They're going to be ashamed of themselves of what they taught because they realized somebody lied to them. So I'm going to pick it up at Jeremiah 16 and 19. It says, "O Lord, my strength, my fortress, my refuge in the day of oh no, my affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, Keats, Harats, and shall say, Ak, our Abba have what? Nahel or Nachel or Rosh or Rash Shakar Ed. Our fathers have inherited lies. Shakar Ed means false witness. And so if the grandfather lied, if the grandfather received the lie, and he taught the lie to his son, and the son taught the lie to his son, so there are generations of lies. So it's not the son's fault, the white professor's fault, or the white dean's fault, or the white chairperson's fault. He inherited lies. So he's basically teaching what he learned. And this is the truth this morning. 2/3 of the country should never have celebrated the Declaration of Independence because it had nothing to do with you. In fact, based on the Paris Peace Treaty of 1783, only the eastern seaboard was free. The southern states remained in a captivity for another 89 years. Another 89 years, y'all. And then they received what you call the the Emancipation Proclamation. So I hate to be Debbie Downer, but somebody got to do it. The Declaration of Independence was not for you in the southern states. It was only for the people, the brothers on the eastern seaboard. And that really, they was getting their declaration. They were not slaves. They just was tired of paying taxes to the British across the waters, and they declared their independence. And that's all that was. So my name again is Lee Cummings, the author of the Negro Question book series. You know, I do speaking engagements too, so get with me. And some of you brothers, we got a lot of brothers out there, they ducking me. Stop ducking the truth. Y'all doing debates with these Christians, and you know the Christians don't know script. So y'all, what you're doing is you glorify and edify yourself. Stop doing that. Come see me sometime. Lee Cummings, author of the Negro Question. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. God bless you.